joining us. Some technical difficulties, which seems to be pretty common on my end, being pretty low tech and trying to do this. Anyway, we're about to start another episode of the Never Again live podcast. So without any further ado, this is what we'll do. We will begin momentarily, so bear with us while we get our guests tuned in and lined up. Please get ready with your laptop or cell phone. Okay, I think we're up and running. Here we go. Another episode, Never Again Live podcast with Mayor Halevi Weinstein as our host. Do get your laptops or PCs or cell phones or computers or whatever other technological mechanisms you have for watching this show with us. And please enjoy it. We do have a live chat, so type in your questions and we'll answer them and put them on the screen. I'm in South Texas studios. We like to refer to Texas as the other Lone Star State, so deep in the heart of Texas. Also joining us this evening is a special guest. Liz has been with us once before on the show, and she was talking about the mapping project. Maybe we'll re-entertain that topic this evening. She is the Director of Research and Special Projects for the Zionist Organization of America. Her specialties have included the Iron Dome, anti-Semitism in the classroom, the Biden agenda on Israel, as we mentioned, the mapping project, and she has a special interest in the Squad, who I like to refer to as Berney's babes. Liz completed University of Chicago Law School at the advanced age of 22. And she's been a guest on a variety of shows, including Dennis Prager's. Let's go through this quickly. And if I want to slow it down when you replay it, go ahead. But it's running late. We're not going to stall for too long. Her accomplishments as attorney are way too numerous to count. Last time we had her live from a New York train station. So this time she'll actually be seated and probably in a more conducive to speaking environment without trains going by. But she's represented Holocaust victims, fraud investigations, consumer safety, literary matters, and education law. Speaking about Berney's babes, there's a question I've always wanted answered, not only from Berney, but also from Benjamin and Jeremiah. So a question I've proposed to them all is, why would all these good Jewish boys leave Brooklyn, where 25% of the population is Jewish, over 500,000 Jews, and decide to relocate in Vermont with no Jews? So I proposed that question in an interview I had personally with Ben and Jerry. I said to Ben, I proposed a question to Ben, why would you move to Vermont with no Jews? You're a good Jewish boy, good Jewish family, and you go to Vermont. So I didn't think the answer was because he was trying to repopulate the Jewish population there. So here's his answer.
I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question.
Interesting indeed. Moving right along. So I did come up with, speaking about simplicity as in the answer to the question, the answer to a question is a good question. But anyway, a simple explanation, in my opinion, of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I know people have written volumes and books and lectured. I think it boils down to some really simplification of the complex situation. On the one side, there are those who want to kill Jews, while on the other side, there are Jews who don't want to die. So it's hard to reach a happy medium when one side wants to kill you, the other side doesn't want to be killed. So it's hard to reach a happy decision on that. But moving right along to more complicated matters. Israel presents a special program, which I think you'll all enjoy. The good, the bad, and the ugly, Israel Now style. So we've got the good, we'll talk about it a little later. That's starring Larry Tannenbaum. We've got the bad, starring none other than the infamous Roger Waters. And we've got the ugly, Fidel Salomon. So in Hollywood style, let's first not start with the good. What do you want first, the good news or the bad news? Well, let's start with the bad news.
Because these people, AIPAC and ADL, and the other extremist Jewish lobby organization, or Israeli lobby, I shouldn't say Jewish.
You're right, but you did.
Jewish lobby organization, or Israeli lobby, I shouldn't say Jewish lobby.
Here's from the very same interview.
Forbade them appearing on the show because some Jewish organization, some Israeli.
Oops, Roger, come on. So, as you all may or may not be aware, Roger just gave a concert on, let's see if we could back up a little bit, at the Scotiabank Arena in under the then Toronto, was a Roger Waters concert. Unfortunately, 1 hour before the concert, and I checked, all sections in blue, both light blue and dark blue, still had plenty of seats available. So it wasn't exactly a sellout crowd. The only areas sold out were the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas in gray. It's too bad that they didn't sell more tickets, actually. There he is riding piggyback, so to speak. So let's get right ahead, moving. What's the relationship between the good and the bad in this particular case? Larry Tannenbaum, the good. So Larry happens to be the chairman of the arena's ownership board. He's a proud Jew, a founding member of Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs. He's a big supporter of UJA. And again, he owns the arena. So due to us talking with him, and I don't think it was us in particular, but certainly we were influential, just asked him to cancel the concert because Roger Waters really has no place talking to our youth about his opinion regarding Jews and regarding Zionism. So we'll give Larry Tannenbaum amazing credit because he didn't cancel the concert. He did something even better. He was aware of Waters' toxic anti-Jewish racism. He decided to invest his proceeds from the concert into initiatives that strengthen ties between Jewish and Arab citizens. He donated to Israeli causes, again, a spin-off from the Abraham Accords, to Israeli citizens. So Roger Waters, unbeknownst to him, just donated a whole bunch of money to the state of Israel. Yay, Roger. So for Larry's great job, he wins the official Israel Now Men of the Month Award. And then we have the good, bad, or the ugly. You may recall him from the recent Mud Convention, and he was gave the convocation at the Eid Prayer and Festival held this past Santo. Now it's interesting, it says in your lower right-hand corner of the post, the first aid prayer ever held at Nathan Phillips Square. I'm not sure why they're holding a first aid prayer. Because, do they need first aid? Did they expect somebody's going to have an injury there? So I investigated this even further. Why first aid? Well, there actually is first aid kit. You can't make this stuff up. There's a first aid kit for when you go to Hajj, in case if you should become dehydrated, injured, and you actually get it at Siraj online, siraj.ca at the Islamic Lifestyle store. So if you're looking for the first aid prayer, they're not talking about the Mishaberach. They're talking about a first aid kit, I guess.
رب العالمين حمد
He gave the address at the First Aid Conference.
عباده الشاكرين الذاكرين حمدا يوافي نعم الله علينا ويكافئ مزيده. On that day in Hajjat al-Wada, Allah sent down this great ayah, great sign of the Quran.
What's very interesting is when you hear him speak in English, he talks about peace and harmony, how you shouldn't injure other people regardless of their religion. Even he states in our English conferences that you should protect and you should feed and clothe your prisoners of war. I guess that hasn't run down from him to the people who kidnap Jews and murder Jews. So it's only Islam that's being attacked. I guess he hasn't realized that the number one group of hate crimes in both Canada and in America are the Jews. No one is attacking Judaism. I don't think that's accurate, but what do I know?
قليل جدا من الناس من يهاجم المسيحية ولا يوجد أحد يهاجم الهندوسية رغم أنهم يعبدون.
Even though they worship cows, I don't know the relationship there.
الأبقار لا أحد يهاجم إلا الإسلام فقط.
Maybe he means not that only Islam is being attacked. Maybe he meant only Islam is doing the attacking. I'm not sure. Well, he's been very closely affiliated with the World Assembly of Muslim Youth, also called, you can't make this stuff up, it's called MAMI, or WAMI. It's called WAMI. Actually, WAMI is the name. He's presently the Secretary General of the World Assembly of Muslim Youth, founded in Saudi in 1972. So I looked into this organization to find out the United States branch was established by Osama bin Laden's nephew. Again, this is a fact. And that in Canada, they were in a series of Islamic youth camps aimed at those between the ages of 14 and 18. A camp publication aimed at these 14, 18-year-olds says, "Hail, hail, O sacrificing soldiers, to us, so we may defend the flag of this day of jihad." So the present chairman of WAMI is Sheikh Salah bin Abdulaziz al-Sheikh. Now, in the past, Fadel was actually the chairman. Presently, he's the Secretary General. But the chairman of this organization, of which Salman is closely affiliated, states that Jerusalem is for Arabs, linked to our faith, and defending it is an obligatory duty. And if that's not enough, he states that scholars are message carriers, not policymakers, and they must work to achieve victory over Jerusalem and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. We must establish that doctrine to know who is the real enemy and liberate Jerusalem from the Zionist entity. And this is who Fadel Salman is closely affiliated with this group. Now, back not that long ago, Fadel was not only the chaplain at the American University, which is in Washington, D.C., he was also the director of WAMI. I love calling it WAMI. It's just a great name for an organization. So under his supervision, when he was a chairman, they put out a book called A Handy Encyclopedia of Religions and Sects. It was published under him. Now, it's important not to confuse this Encyclopedia of Religions and Sects with the Handy Encyclopedia of Religion and Sex. I mean, I could see how you could misconfuse those two. One is Muslim, the other one is Hindu. So don't get those confused when you go to your bookstore. In the sects version, the WAMI book implicates Lions, Zionism, and Freemasons in the International Rotary as complicit in a Jewish conspiracy to corrupt and tightly control the world. Sure sounds like the Zion book that we're all very familiar with, the Elders of Zion. As well as it says in this book for children that some Jews entered Islam to plot its downfall and to light the fire of discord with it. I guess they don't realize that Muhammad married a Jewish woman, and in order to marry her, he killed her husband and children. So, they entered forcefully, not voluntarily, and certainly not to disrupt Islam. As far as I know, but again, my history of Islam is not that up to date. The whammy book implicates that, as we already said, but what's particularly interesting is that if you look up whammy in the Webster Dictionary, what a whammy is a supernatural power bringing bad luck. So I guess that's pretty appropriate title for this organization. Solomon has stated that he recommends the book to students interested in other religions. And he goes on to say in this book published for the students, if they are interested in learning about other religions, that the religion ushered in by Moses, that's us, by the way, is pure monotheism. Well, actually, that's not true, because actually in those days, the thought was that our God was the most powerful of all the gods. Monotheism didn't actually come up right away. It was the most powerful God who was able to defeat the gods of Pharaoh. But the religion ushered in by Moses, after King Solomon, us, the followers of this religion, we distorted it to give rise to what we now call Judaism. The acts of the Jews became filled with shameful things and sinful behavior. They, us that is, spread moral decay in the world, supported oppression, hollowed aggression, and distorted religion. So this is what he feels should be taught to Muslims seeking information on other religions. So our tonight's show is dedicated to the entire network of anti-Semitic BDS affiliates turning against each other, imploding. Mayor will talk about that more later. But there they go, infighting. The international BDS has decided that the Canadian BDS is not an official organization. They need to stop using the name and logo. And you got Canadian, you got Toronto, you've got Samidan, you've got the CD4HR. All these organizations are now infighting. And my philosophy has always been, don't get in somebody's way when they're on the road to self-destruction. And playing guitar at this funeral site, in the background, we have none other than Roger Waters joining in. So without further ado, let's all remember what Einstein said, which is that the world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. Here at Israel Now, we don't do nothing. We're active, we're proactive. We have a special edition memorandum coming out, the concealed carry tag. Coming soon to a Judea shop near you. Don't leave home without it. And here's Mayor with the parts of the week. All parshas are extremely important, we know that. But this particular parsha, which can be found in Numbers 25:10 to 31, is not only read on this Shabbat, but this portion of this parsha are read not only on Shabbat, but they're also read on Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, and Simchat Torah, so particularly interesting parsha. Join us at IsraelNow.ca. Go to our website, our Facebook page, IsraelNow.ca. Join us, support us, and together we can fight anti-Semitism. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of out of breath, so I'm going to turn it over to our host, Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. If you could share this with the various groups and pages that you're part of on social media, we'll reach a lot more people, have a stronger effect. And we are having an effect. Happy to report that the Canadian BDS Coalition, their Twitter page has been suspended. They support the project. We'll be talking about that. And also, as our doctor in the studio pointed out, Roger Waters, yes, performed, but due to our efforts, we convinced a lot of people to contact Larry Tenenbaum, and he pledged to divert the funds, the proceeds from the concert to causes in Israel, to further strengthen Abraham Accords in Israel. This is very important. So we're working very hard to expose BDS groups, to deplatform them, expose who the leaders are, expose the hate, take away whatever strength they think they have, delegitimize them. This week's Parsha is Parshas Pinchas. And really, this Parsha is a continuation of last week's Parsha. Last week's Parsha was Parshas Balak. And King Balak summoned Bilam to curse the Jewish people. And at the conclusion of last week's Parsha, Bilam advised Balak one more tactic to use, to take the most attractive women that he has in Moab and to seduce the Jewish men that are on their way to Israel. Seduce them, and at the same time try to get them involved in idolatry as well. And unfortunately, one of the leaders of the Jewish people then, a prince, Zimri, he fell for this. And this was horrible for the Jewish people, because the mission was they're leaving Egypt. They got the Torah and they're supposed to go and establish a Jewish state in the land of Israel. And when a Jewish leader is seduced in such a way and he's going to give in to idolatry as well, they're certainly not going to march to Israel under him. So Pinchas took it upon himself to stop this, and he assassinated Zimri. That's what he did. This was one of the first acts of political assassination that took place in Jewish history. That happened. And what's important is that Jews should understand what our purpose is. What our purpose was to receive the Torah and to establish a Jewish state. Right now, thank God, the Jewish state is very strong. And we have Arab countries that are looking to improve this with Israel. Saudi Arabia, there's possibilities under the Abraham Accords that they're going to have relations with Israel. But we have to never lose focus of our commitment to the Torah and our goal to establish a Jewish state and to give proper definition to a Jewish state. There's a lot that we're going tonight. Liz Berney is with us from the Zionist Organization of America. She's done extensive research on the mapping project, and what we're finding out, there's possible serious connection the mapping project has with Iran and the amount of infighting that's going on right now. Just earlier today, there was a video that was being posted from Press TV that's out of Iran, praising the mapping project and praising to target Jewish organizations. And what they want to do, they want to expand the mapping project to not only go after Jewish organizations and the Jewry in Boston, but they want to expand it throughout the United States, throughout North America, globally. Is Liz with us? Is the connection good? Let's see. Liz, hello.
Hi. Can you hear me? Good.
I can hear you. Good to have you.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Maya.
Excellent. Excellent. Were you able to see that short video from TV earlier today?
No, but I actually read the article on Press TV where it says, which is also very interesting.
Right.
Trying to pretend that it's not that the mapping project is not against Jews. It's only have connections to Zionists. It's a very contradictory article. People have some sort of, and of course, the last time I was here, I read some of the groups that are being targeted, clearly being targeted because they're Jewish, such as every synagogue in Massachusetts, arts councils, teen groups. I think Harvard, a donor who contributed $200 million to it was Jewish. I mean, obviously there's absolutely no connection to Zionism. Excuse, to say, oh, we're only targeting Zionists, not Jews. Zionists, you are targeting Jews. You're targeting the Jewish state and the millions of Jews who live in the Jew.
Exactly.
They were also interesting. The Press TV article trying to compare the mapping project to Canary Mission, which is a totally ridiculous comparison. They're saying that that they're the Canary Mission is smearing people, calling their schools. Canary Mission it's not, first of all, not mapping people's locations. It's not calling their punishing anybody. It's letting people know that people are what people are actually saying. The Canary Mission does not target people because of their religion or target every mosque in a certain state. It's only targeting who are targeting Jews, and giving people the information about that. So it's really a totally outrageous comparison.
Right. Also, there's seems like a new BDS organization that is representing the mapping project. That is, like the amount of infighting that I'm seeing. They're condemning the BDS National Committee based in Ramallah, and I mean, I'm sure you've looked into that. You see what's going on with that. They're also accusing the BDS in Ramallah in working in conjunction with J Street, the New Israel Fund. It's pretty outlandish what they're saying.
Yeah, and it is quite interesting. I sent to you a little earlier. I don't know if you had a chance to read an op-ed done by Mark Klein, who's the head of the Zionist Organization of America,
Right.
and it we spoke about New Israel Fund. It's kind of goes all a full circle, because New Israel Fund is far less than other organization. They raise about $30 million a year. That goes to anti-Israel NGOs in Israel who work against Israel. What is it? Yeshdin, I believe it is, and Committee Against Torture, and so on and so on.
Right.
They so interestingly, NIF, New Israel, the groups that it had funded was between 2008 and 2000, Coalition of Women for Peace, CWP, and around the same time, this was called call for BDS by groups which are really all terrorist connected groups, um, and from 2008 to 2011, the Coalition of Women for Peace and the Coalition for Women for Peace at the same time, in React BDS call, put together a list of Jewish companies, and under the title "Who Profits," and these are all kinds of Jewish manufacturing concerns, and these are the people that supposedly from the Zionist occupation, from the fact that Jews live on land. And this list that eventually spun off into Coalition for Women for Peace. It became a full-fledged BDS organization after putting together this list. And this list was really a project that laid the foundation for the BDS groups as to who to initially go after. So it's continued its research to who the Jewish BDS, who BDS should go after. Interestingly, the mapping, directly and indirectly, relies on the Women for Peace's project, this Who Profits project, which of course was at the same time the mapping project is now targeting NIF. I'll tell you about how they're doing it direct. If you go through the Home Mapping Project website, and you'll see that some of their reasons why they're going after different Jewish groups, Jewish organizations, come directly from the Who Profits, and also some of it comes in directly through the American Friends Service, because the Quakers have another site. The Quakers have a whole site called the Investigates, and this is another targets Israel and tells people what companies that it targets Jews and tells should boycott. And in turn, the American Friends of Who Profits site. So NIF is really, if you trace it all back, they're what really got the ball rolling. And now the BDS groups are turning on NIF, on the mapping project, as a group that they now want to boycott. So it's really cool. And it should be a lesson for any left-wing BDS in any shape, way, or form, that they shouldn't be doing this, because they're eventually going to be targeted as all Jews. In the op-ed, Mort Jabotinsky wrote back in 1923, something quite, they were helping another group, and then the other group turned on them. And he's, as political simpletons Jews can be, and the Jews are, and it's going to turn. You have to realize that when you help any group of Jews, eventually it's going to come back to bite you.
Right. Absolutely. We just had an experience here in Toronto, north of Toronto, Thornhill, where a BDS group actually targeted the Jewish community. They went to a plaza where there's pretty much every store there is a kosher store, and they interfered and were blocking entry to people coming in, shouting obscenities at Jewish shop owners there, and a lot of people from the community came out and were enraged. But this is what the mapping project wants to do. They want to, and by the way, the people with this BDS group made statements they support Iran, and that kind of falls into play with who's behind the mapping project as well, to target the Jewish community, and that's what's going on. So they're targeting the Jewish community right now. They're posting information about these different Jewish stores and businesses. I expect to see a lot more of that. And
it's been going on for a while. I remember it was a couple of years ago when BDS supporters went into Carrefours and the Carrefour stores and started throwing products from Israel, fruit, and
right,
hummus, and so on, to practically destroyed the store.
Right.
And definitely, it's a problem. And, the fact that press TV shows and articles on this really shows the Iranian support, and that they, their involvement. Hamas is behind a lot of this. So
yeah, Hamas is an extension of Iran. They're a tool of Iran, just like Hezbollah as well. It's the way I see it is that as Israel becomes more successful, stronger, and the Abraham Accords is going, Iran and the BDS, as they're losing, will attempt to use kinds of acts of violence against the Jewish community, and as they embrace this mapping project, that's what the BDS is all about. On campuses to attack Jews in restaurants, attack Jewish shop owners. That's what I see going on even more. intensifying.
Yep.
Did you see that?
It's a huge problem. There was this about a week ago. There were hearings at about the University of New York, and one of my colleagues from TOA, Susan Tuckman, testified there. Members of the New York City Council who were quite enraged about what's going on there. The tax, but unfortunately, the chancellor of the university didn't bother to show up and getting the attention.
Right.
One of the big problems is that it doesn't get the attention that it should from actually do something, very, very, do something strong to curtail it. I want to mention, because you brought up Roger Waters in the beginning, that
Yes.
at the beginning of your show, so doing a little tour in the States, and I hope people will come out of that. I understand that he is going to be in Albany at the what is it, at Arena. I believe he's going to be at Madison Square Garden. I know some people who are going to him, and I hope people will join them and make call. Also make call. Hopefully that we can do what you did in Canada. That's fabulous.
Been working on it for I don't know, close to a year. The campaign to convince Larry Tenenbaum to take some measures, but. Listen, actually, honestly, I'd rather that the entire concert was canceled. But
Right.
If you're not going to cancel it, then take the money, the proceeds from the concert, and give it to Israel, and put something positive in Israel, and let the BDS know that they're funding projects in Israel.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's interestingly, Roger Waters a couple of years ago. County, the big Nassau County arena, and Nassau County executive Bruce Blakeman, who had protested that, and he was running for office. They're never going to play here if I'm county executive, and I noticed that it's not on. That Nassau County is not on the tour. We can have, but if we keep pushing at this, we'll, and also have the second best solution of contribute the funds.
No, absolutely. Listen, it's very simple. The whole idea about the BDS, the PLO was created in 1964, 3 years before the 67 war. They had an opportunity after the Arab side, after they lost the war in 1948, to end Judea and Samaria, what they call the West Bank, and Gaza. Judea and Samaria was under the control of Jordan. And Gaza was under the control of Egypt. They could have easily established a Palestine state then, before the 6-Day War, before the 67 war. They didn't. In 1964, they formed the PLO with the express goal of annihilating Israel. They lost. The PLO still exists today, and they want to still do that. And that's what the BDS is, to annihilate Israel. There's no discussion, there's nothing, there's no recognition, and they cry about so-called Nakba, so-called suffering that they created, that they're responsible for. That's it. They don't produce anything positive. You look at Israel, what they create, and the world is turning to Israel for their technology and in so many fields. What do they create? The PA or the PLO, bombs, suicide bombers. That's what they create.
Well, the real
of
definition of Nakba is that they consider it to be a catastrophe that they couldn't destroy the entire. That's what they believe was a catastrophe.
Right.
And
the mapping project is just to continue that after Jews, go after the Jewish community.
Well, in 1964, the PLO don't make any claims on, Judea and Samaria, although they didn't call it, but they called it the West Bank.
Right.
And their only claim was against the pre-67 lines. The 49 armistice line stopped after 7 Arab countries invaded the new state of Israel, the modern state of Israel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, were there other items that you wanted to discuss today? I know you had asked me to speak about the mapping, Roger Waters.
Well, with the mapping project, I mean, the ZLA has been quite active on it, contacting authorities and I believe the FBI as well, and trying to deplatform it. Where are we there now? Is there movement from law enforcement to do something about it? Is there? I mean, I've read that on some of the social media platforms they've been deplatformed, but they keep moving their website to other providers. Where are we now?
Well, they're still on the internet, unfortunately. The FBI did hold a meeting in Boston, and we had a representative saying that they are aware of the problem. They so far have said that they have not seen any direct dangers. So any sort of danger could happen in an instant, of course, and that's sort of where it stands with them. So there has been some response to our letter and the outcry from the Jewish community in general about this.
Right. Yeah, that's the mapping project right there. And they're going to expand it to all Jewish communities. There's no question about it.
Next time, you already have groups talking about this in New York City. The within our a lifetime group,
right,
which is vicious, also specifically targeting Jewish groups in New York City and
right.
mapping them all over.
Yeah, but I mean, I see. Like today is a pretty good day that President Joe Biden surprised me with some of the statements he made in Israel and on his arrival there. And it's the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. They're quite upset, but I mean, the circumstances are totally different today. That with the war with Russia and Ukraine and the emergence of Israel as going to supply Europe with gas and technology that Saudi Arabia and these other Arab countries need, that Joe Biden seems like he changed his position from when he originally assumed office. So this was seemed like a positive day today.
Well, he changed his position on Saudi Arabia, which he originally didn't want to deal with over the Khashoggi issue. He needs the oil from them because of his cuts to the American cutting the American energy industry. But I'm very upset. We at ZOA are very, very upset that Israel is for friendship and combating anti-Semitism. I mean, he has praised Rashida Tlaib profusely.
Yeah, no kidding, right.
He has not the Rashida Tlaib and AOC and all of the anti-squad, which is in his own party, done absolutely nothing about that. And did instead of praising them. And this is a real problem because it signals to Congress people getting away with this kind of vicious anti-Semitism and says nothing about that. It really is a signal to everybody else that it's acceptable to the general public. So,
Right.
you know, and I mean, also in our experiences, the Civil Rights Division tends to be slow walking the things that we've been finding about what's going on in the college campuses was much better. They moved forward much more quickly. So I don't see that he's really fighting anti-Semitism. His friendship for Israel, he's, well, first of all, still negotiating with Iran,
Right.
not enforcing, not he should be enforcing them, looking the other way when Iran is trading off, constantly pressuring Israel about opening a consulate, which would during his visit to Jerusalem, he
Right.
is he's having making a Palestinian run hospital in eastern Jews to have Israeli officials accompanying him on the visit, is trying to say that Jerusalem is still up for grabs, which just will make much further away because
Right.
you have to take Jerusalem off. You have to take the Jerusalem as long as the Palestinian Authority and other other Palestinian groups, Hamas, that they have a chance of obtaining part or all of Jerusalem. You'll never have peace. He's,
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, he's constantly building, Jews building homes in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria, on Golan Heights. He refused, Tony Blinken, his secretary of state, refused to come out and say that they recognize that is the Israeli sovereignty, and sort of hedged and waffled and said, well, in Syria we might reconsider the legalities, or look at the legalities.
Right.
There's been so much pressure on Israel, asserted on Israel, plus the huge number of anti-Israel appointees that are in this administration beyond belief.
Yeah.
You have Hadi Amar, who says he was inspired by the antisemitism, which Jews were, approximately 10,000 Jews were either maimed or murdered. And much more on him. You have people who ran conferences on how to demonize it. You have people who organized all kinds of anti-Israel. You have the entire group that brought us the original. It's it is.
Now went mute.
Your voice just went out on your end there, Liz. So something happened on your end. It's your internet connection has waned. So Mayor, talk a little bit, and I'll keep checking Liz's connection until it's back up.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, look, I mean, Liz is 100% correct about Biden, about the administration. Ever since that administration came into power, the appointments that Joe Biden was making, and they were horrible appointments, and they weren't good for Israel. Just seems that the circumstances have changed. That his arm is being twisted a little bit for Israel because of the Russian-Ukraine war, and he is reluctantly making some positive statements about Israel, and he's going to go to Saudi Arabia, where hopefully there will be a deal made with Saudi Arabia and Israel, and we'll see what happens with that. But everything Donald Trump did for Israel, with the Abraham Accords and with Jerusalem, everything that hopefully the Biden administration will not be able to reverse. But certainly the visits, that's definitely problematic. He doesn't want Israeli security to come with him when he visits a hospital in Jerusalem. That's a bunch of nonsense. This is the undivided capital of Israel, Jerusalem. Settlements, he'd like there to be a settlement freeze. Kind of nonsense is this, that Jews have to be restricted where they can live in Israel and in Jerusalem? It's absurd. And the size of Israel, it's really a tiny, tiny country. And you've got these huge Arab countries where Arabs could live wherever they want. But Jews are being picked on and dictated to where they could live, where they could walk, where they could work. So yeah, there's definitely problems with the administration. Tony Blinken, definitely not a good pick for as Secretary of State. He's pretty much with J Street. There's no question about that. And J Street makes outlandish remarks against Israel.
Liz, we
They're
got you
very
back on
close.
too if you want to chime in.
Great.
There you go.
Liz, let's go.
Yeah, the other issue that I wanted to bring up about Biden and his visit is that I understand that he is planning to announce another $100 million of U.S. taxpayer funds are going to be going to Palestinian projects, supposedly the hospital system. But the problem with that, of course, it sounds very good to fund hospitals, but the problem is that's a government function, and the Palestinian, every time that the U.S. gives money to Palestinian projects, it frees up more funds for the Palestinian Authority to make its pay-to-slave payments, which are about $400 million a year, rewarding terrorists with lifelong pensions. If they murder Jews, the larger the pension. The more Jews that they killed, the larger the pension. And President Trump had cut these payments, and of course the Taylor Force Act was passed during the Trump administration, which prohibits many of these payments. And Biden is just circumventing that. He was bragging recently, and I guess it was in an article he wrote about why he's going on this trip, about giving $500 million to the Palestinians in the last year. He also restarted the funding to UNRWA, the UN Relief and Works Agency, hundreds of millions of dollars to them, and UNRWA,
where they educate kids to kill Jews.
Right. Yeah, they continue to educate Arab children to grow up to be martyrs and to kill Jews. In math class and every other class. I mean, I had heard that one of the math problems was if a martyr blows up a bus and kills 7 Jews, how many martyrs need to do something to kill 28 Jews? I mean, this is just sickness.
Right. It's the education system.
And
no, listen,
yeah,
there should be a demand, a very small demand. There should be a very small demand on the PA, and that small demand should be, you have to accept the IRA definition of anti-Semitism before even 1 penny goes to you. They don't accept it. They promote anti-Semitism, the worst of anti-Semitism, and they pay people to kill Jews. You can't fund it.
Yeah, no, I mean that absolutely has to stop. And for Biden to be giving more taxpayer money to the Palestinian Authority, it just sends the wrong message. He's also planning,
absolutely,
the business with the consulate. The business with the consulate, the constant pressure in Israel, is another one of Biden's pushes. And Blinken has been also pushing it. Other people in the administration, Thomas Nides, who is the U.S. ambassador to Israel, keeps pushing that. Nides has also been. Nides also had the nerve to say that he's infuriated when Jews build homes in Judea and Samaria and Jerusalem, but he says he's not infuriated when the Palestinian Authority pays pays Arab terrorists to kill Jews. That's not infuriating. But about the consulate, Biden is trying to do another workaround there, which is to basically separate out the within the embassy right now, to separate out the Palestinian Affairs Unit and have them
report directly to the State Department. So basically, say they're a separate consulate. He's trying to make them a separate consulate within the embassy, because Israel and
Right.
everybody objected
Right.
so much to the opening of the separate
Right.
consulate. But that, he's trying to do the same thing, divide Jerusalem by doing this. And
Yeah.
the consulate, opening a separate consulate, violates the Oslo Accords. It violates the Jerusalem Embassy Act of 1995, follow-up acts to that, and it also violates the Vienna Convention on Consular Affairs, because you need the permission of the host country in order to open up a separate consulate.
Right.
But under the Vienna Convention,
Absolutely.
Israel also has the right to say, we don't accept this, various diplomats, and I think they should be exercising that. Some of these really anti-Israel diplomats that are getting sent over has the right to say that these are unacceptable and send them home. And it's, I wish that they would act more strongly about that.
Yeah, well, hopefully they won't. Well, there's new elections going on in Israel right now, so hopefully they won't have a dysfunctional government of what they had previously, where they bring in the Ram Party, and they want support from the Arab List Party, Ahmed Tibi, and people like that. So hopefully we won't see a repetition of that.
We have the Muslim Brotherhood in the government.
Yeah, in Saudi Arabia, the Muslim Brotherhood is banned.
Oh, sure, UAE, and elsewhere it's banned.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Listen, Liz, I want to thank you for joining us. It's very important we have to stay on top of the mapping project and other plans from Iran to target the Jewish community and BDS, their agents. But I just want to thank you for sharing your knowledge, your understanding.
Thank you. We did have big victory on that here with Ben and Jerry's.
Right. Absolutely. That's right. We started the show like that. In fact, that's right. Unilever, they made the statement and they said, forget it, Ben and Jerry's. We're dealing with Israel. So
yeah, we were also very involved in that issue. My colleague Susan Tuckman and I wrote on behalf of shareholders of Unilever to Unilever, pointing out we went and looked at the agreements that they have with Ben and Jerry's and Unilever's own policies, and we pointed out that under all of that, Unilever had the obligation and the right and the right to override what Ben and Jerry's was doing. And interestingly, Ben and Jerry's, I hear, is now suing Unilever over this issue, but they're totally wrong, and I assume that they're going to lose this. And Unilever originally said, "Oh, we can't do anything because they have this independent social mission." We pointed out that their social mission was just their social mission back 22 years ago when Ben and Jerry's was acquired. And the social mission did not include anti-Semitism, or boycotting Israel. So this is something that the current people who are running Ben and Jerry's have added to their so-called social mission, which Unilever is certainly not bound by. And Unilever anyway has the right to override anything that Ben and Jerry's, virtually anything that Ben and Jerry's does. And they finally adopted that. They finally adopted that position, which we were very happy to see.
Excellent work by ZOA. Excellent. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do, Maya. Thank you, Maya, for everything you do. And happy to see you again.
Thank you. We'll have you on some more.
Okay,
Perfect.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Please share this on the various social media platforms that you use, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, other platforms. We'll reach a lot more people. We'll have a strong effect. Our goal is defeating the BDS, defeating the anti-Semitic BDS. We have a lot of work to do, and we've accomplished a lot. We mentioned a few successes that we've had. We're going to have more successes. Please support us as well. Go on our website, israelnow.ca, make a contribution. We'll get stronger with that as well. We need contributions. Thank you very much. I believe we have a song.
Well, since we ran way under what we usually run, and we've got, if we want to be on an hour, we still got 15 minutes. I think people forget about what Hamas is doing, because BDS, even though they're imploding from the inside, they're so good at masking the important issues with trivia. So there's an 8-minute video I did a year ago regarding how the children are treated in Gaza. So I think for anybody who wants to stay on, it's 10 minutes long. And then after that, I'll play a hadikva. If anybody's getting bored, wants to leave, or wants to chat with us, whatever. So, May, what do you think? Just play a 10-minute video about the effects of Hamas on the children in Gaza?
Play it. I'm going go ahead, play it. Perfect.
Okay, excellent. And then I'll give you some closing. You'll see when it's over, because it'll say the end. Okay, so I'm going to go and play this video again. Perfect. Those you have been watching us for a while, you might have seen it a year ago, but I think we sometimes need a reminder of what's really going on in Gaza. So basically what we call this, again, this is an old video we did when we first were starting to do this podcast, and people didn't quite realize the effect on the children in Gaza. And I agree with free Palestine, but you got to free Palestine from Hamas first before you could move on anywhere from there. So please enjoy this from a intellectual standpoint, and May will be back with closing words in 8 or 9 minutes.
חיבוק של ירח, כוכב מנשק את מצחך.
So all our children are learning to play with toys and games and computers. The children of Hamas are learning how to kill Jews. Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Many people have quoted having said that. Winston Churchill, among others. So here's the Hitler Youth. And it's not much different than today's Palestinian youth. So here's a school in Gaza, and here's a bank in Gaza. I mean, the obvious double standard is amazing. They don't have money to educate their children, but they have money for the billionaires of Hamas who have Learjets and mansions to have a bank like the one depicted here. Or the homes of the Palestinian aristocracy. That's a private home belonging to a Palestinian next to a school in Gaza. Again, the Palestinian children are suffering, and our heart goes out to them and bleeds for them. But it's not the fault of Israel, it's the fault of their leadership. In 2018, the Palestinian Authority purchased a $50 million private jet for Abbas who refuses to have more elections because he fears the reality that he'll be ousted and that Hamas will take over. And that's Hamas leadership on their private Learjet. This is last year, and as summer approaches, millions of children across the world look forward to spending time at camp with their friends. But for some kids and teens in a Hamas-ruled Gaza Strip, it constitutes a horrifying experience. Their summer camps, they trained how to kill Jews, how to attack Israel, how to kill innocent civilians, men, women, children. These are actual movies taken, videos taken at a Hamas-run summer camp. And why do journalists turn a blind eye to this? They're more concerned about the occasional discrepancy regarding a conflict between Israel and Hamas than what goes on every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in Gaza and in the Palestinian territories. The New York Times started by the Oakes family, a Jewish family, is now a left-wing anti-Israel publication. Many of the youths who die in Gaza are the result of backfiring missiles and explosions. And when Israel comes to destroy a building, they clear the premises first. When will we see an article on CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, on what's really happening in Gaza?
We are training the next generation of fighters who want to protect their homeland.
The camp is run by Hamas, the militant group which governs Gaza.
They're training the next generation of terrorists. Again, they have enough money to buy thousands and thousands of missiles, but not to repair, fix, and build schools for the children. And what happened to the enormous wealth of Yasser Arafat? His estate was estimated to be worth $20 billion. There's not a Yasser Arafat university, a community center, theater. And he was the first king of the Palestinian people. Here's a song which got a lot of airplay among the Palestinians.
سمرة وجولي وشدي حيلي راجع أنا وياكي بكرة.
The song is talking about taking M16, taking over Israel, killing the Jews. This is the video that goes along with the song.
يا سمرة وجولي وشدي حيلي راجع أنا وياكي بكرة عطا ما يحلالي غير صوتك يا أصيلي هاجم على العدا وناوي أكويهم نار يا حلالي ويا مالي يلا يلا نزلوا فدائي على الأرض المحتلة قلنا يا عالم والله الله
These are the videos and graphics that they love to show their children. This is what they're proud of.
أخذوا القرار سوريا ثغرة وجودي وشدي حيلي راجع أنا وياكي بكرة عالدار ما يحلاني غير صوتك يا أصيلي هارم على العدا وناوي أكويه النار ميلي عاقد في ميلي ومحيلي وضوي على الغالي وعزبال النار واكتبي مجد الشعب وعيدي وزيدي وانا من دمي بدي اكتب اشعار سوريا سمرة وجولي وشدي حيلي راجع أنا وياكي بكرة عالدار ما يحلالي غير صوتك يا أصيلي هاجم على العدا وناوي أكويه النار ليلي يا ويلي طولي انتي وحدك دليلي عطف النار.
So here's the translation of that song. They refer to their AK-47 as their woman, as their brunette, their combat rifle, making leaping advance in circles and strengthen up. They'll be returning home to Palestine. That's what we were just listening to in Arabic. I'm attacking the enemy Israelis and want to burn them with fire. This is for the children to sing. Oh, my honor, my beautiful, come on, carry out a suicide attack in occupied land. We said, O world, in the name of Allah, a warrior with an AK-47 made the decision, glide down my shoulder and end my night, and shed light on Hebron and Nablus, and write the glory of the people. From the blood I want to write poems. My night is my night. My night is long. You alone are my guide in the line of fire. That's what they're proud to
Hamas is destroying the future of young Palestinians. This summer, millions of children around the world will spend their days creating lifelong memories. We all know from our own experiences that summer is a magical time, spent in exploration, vacation, and family. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Hamas summer camps are creating a dangerous reality for Palestinian children. While other children enjoy the beach, go camping, or play sports, thousands of young Palestinians, some of them as young as 8, will participate in military drills where they will be using live ammunition. They'll learn how to assemble weapons and simulate how to assassinate and kill Israeli civilians. Most disturbingly, they threaten the dreams, well-being, and the future of the next Palestinian generation. Hamas summer camps are nothing more nor less than a form of child abuse.
Mayor, back to you. Closing words, and I'll put on some music.
Well, we still have a lot of work to do. We've had some successes there and shutting down some BDS groups, and we were effective against Roger Waters here in Toronto anyways. But there's a lot of work still to do. And that's what we're doing. So I'm asking, support our efforts, get involved, go to our website, .ca, get involved, send us an email, however you could help, be it financial contribution or you want to volunteer, we'll put you to work. Thank you very much. And we'll conclude with the Tikva.
We'll do Hatikva right after a delightful little song from this duo in Israel. And they just came out with a new CD. And again, we've been dinged before for copyright infringement. They gave us permission to play any of their music live on our show live. But do support them. It's Yonina. You can find their Facebook page, their website. It's a great little duo out of Israel.
Yerushalayim של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור. ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור, כינור.
Okay, we're going to play Hatikva, and then we'll see you all next week.
Excellent.
Assuming I can find it. And there it is. Okay, y'all. See you next week.
נפש יהודי הומייה ותן מזרח קדימה
עין לציון צופיה עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו שנות אלפיים להיות החופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון מירושלים להיות החופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון
Shalom aleinu ve'al